David Cohen from Variety here for Artisans, and we're with Derek McLane, set designer, production designer for the Oscars. I'm fascinated by the challenges of doing the Oscars. For one thing, you have to find the right line between dazzling and tacky. How do you find that?
Well, I try to avoid tacky if I can. Really what I try to do is be elegant and a little bit glamorous, and try to find ways to do it that are a little bit surprising.
I know you have the Swarovski crystals built into the set. Tell us about that.
So this year we're using more crystals than ever, as far as I know. Well over 100,000 crystals, and we've created a crystal proscenium. You can see there's some sketches behind me here. And really the main sort of architectural influences in this is 1970s glam. And I've used the crystals to create this proscenium, and there's also an amazing crystal wall that flies in, as well as some things that we call the crystal waves that come in for another part of the show.
You have a new producer this year. How does that affect what you're doing?
So there are two new producers, David Hill and Reggie Hudlin, their team, and they have a lot of new ideas. There's a lot of things that they are doing differently. I think the show will feel probably a little more modern, sort of greater use of LED technology. There's more video footage that's incorporated in the show. And we go in and out of video and photographic looks quite a lot on the show. The other thing that we're doing this year that I think is interesting is that really trying to tell the story of how we make a movie.
Interesting. So I know a few years back they changed the running order and they started with writing and then they went through all the different stages of production. Might we see something in the same vein this year?
You might.
You might. I wanted to talk about the particular challenges of having a set where you can have people coming off having just won an award. Yeah. You also have the whole backstage area. It has to be safe. It has to be easy to navigate. Tell us about that.
Easy to navigate is really the biggest challenge because there's so many people working on the show. You've got a lot of stagehands, you've got a lot of camera people. You've got a lot of handlers, so it gets really crowded backstage, and you've got scenery back there that's waiting to go on in other scenes. And then on top of it, you've got photographers, and you've got the cameras from the show itself going backstage.
What's easy and what's difficult about designing for the Dolby Theater?
The Dolby is pretty well laid out for the Oscars. It's kind of made for the Oscars. There are plenty of things that are difficult about designing this show. My challenge is to try to avoid cliches, to try to give a sense of scale and elegance without being bombastic. For me, that's the kind of the balance that I'm always trying to find. I guess you feel like you've got it right when you look at it. You don't have to think about it, and it just looks beautiful on camera. And if it looks beautiful in the room, that's a bonus.
Okay, so you're really designing more for the camera than for the room.
Absolutely. I mean, most of the people who come see the show are familiar with the fact that this is a television show, and so they have to sit there for commercial breaks, and it's definitely a celebration, but they don't get to see everything that the TV viewer gets to see because the cameras move into all sorts of interesting places. Because there's so many millions of people watching it on television, we really try to make this a TV event as much as we possibly can.
Tell us about the biggest change you've ever had to make at the last minute.
Usually it has to do with musical numbers, performers who decide that they want to do a song differently, and we're there to try to make those things work, so that often requires big adjustments.
Derek McLane, thanks so much for being with us.